The emergency call. Dr. Sarah Chen had been working at Celestial Medical Station Prometheus for exactly 8 months when she received the call that would change everything. The station orbited a neutral zone between 3 major galactic powers, serving as the premier medical facility for the entire sector. It was prestigious, cutting-edge, and until today, had never dealt with a case quite like this. Dr. Chen, report to Emergency Bay 7 immediately, the station AI announced, its usually calm voice carrying an unusual edge of urgency. Critical patient incoming. Estimated arrival, 4 minutes. Sarah abandoned her lunch and sprinted down the corridor, her mag boots keeping her grounded despite the station's lower gravity. Other medical staff were converging on the bay, but their expressions told her something was wrong. Very wrong. Meeting the expert. Dr. Zelvoth waited at the bay entrance, his crystalline form refracting the harsh white lights into rainbow patterns. The senior physician had mentored Sarah since her arrival, patiently explaining the biological differences between the hundreds of species they treated. Now, his usual confidence had evaporated. "We have a problem," he said, his voice resonating through his mineral structure. "The patient is a Crossian ambassador. His ship was attacked near the border. Multiple system failures." Sarah felt her stomach drop. The Crossians were an ancient species, their biology so complex that most medical schools didn't even attempt to teach it. They possessed 3 separate nervous systems, crystalline blood that flowed through channels rather than veins, and organs that could regenerate if given proper care. They were also notoriously difficult to save once critically injured. "What's the survival rate for Crossian trauma cases?" Sarah asked, already knowing the answer. 47%, Zelvoth replied. "And that's with specialists who have trained for decades." "Dr. Chen, I must be honest with you. I have requested 3 Crossian medical experts from the nearest facility, but they are 6 hours away. Our patient has perhaps 90 minutes. The skeptical team. The emergency bay doors hissed open as the transport shuttle docked. A team of 8 medical professionals stood ready, representing 5 different species. Sarah recognized most of them: Taurex, the insectoid surgeon whose precision was legendary; Mira, a Venturi nurse whose emotional sensitivity made her invaluable in crisis situations; and Zek, a hulking Grozan whose 4 arms made him perfect for complex procedures. They all looked at Sarah with the same expression she'd grown accustomed to, polite doubt mixed with thinly veiled concern. Humans had only joined the galactic medical community 15 years ago. Their understanding of alien biology was still considered rudimentary at best. The patient arrived on an anti-grav stretcher, and Sarah's breath caught. The Crossian was massive, easily 9 feet tall even lying down. His body was a gorgeous deep purple, now marred by jagged wounds that leaked luminescent fluid. His breathing was labored, coming in harsh rattling sounds that made the translation matrix crackle with static. "Crystalline matrix fracture in the primary core," Taurex announced, his mandibles clicking rapidly as he scanned the patient. "Secondary neural pathway completely severed. Tertiary pathway degrading. This is worse than I thought." The brutal assessment. Dr. Zelvoth began issuing orders, but Sarah could hear the resignation in his voice. He was going through the motions, doing what protocol demanded, but he didn't believe they could save this patient. None of them did. "Dr. Chen," Zelvoth said quietly, pulling her aside. "I need you to understand the situation. Even if the specialists arrive in time, which is unlikely, the damage is too severe. The best we can do is make Ambassador Cortex comfortable. Prepare sedatives for a dignified passing." "No," Sarah said, surprising herself with the firmness in her voice. The medical bay went silent. Every eye, stalk, and sensory organ turned toward her. "Excuse me?" Zelvoth's tone carried warning. "Dr. Chen, I understand you are young and idealistic, but we must be realistic. Crossian biology is not something a human can simply learn from a database. It requires years of specialized study." "I have been studying," Sarah said, her mind already racing through possibilities. "Every night since I arrived. I've read every available text on Crossian physiology. I've run simulations. I've consulted with experts across subspace channels. And I think I can help. The controversial plan. Tau Rex made a sound that the translator interpreted as skeptical laughter. You think you can help? Dr. Chen, with respect, I have been practicing medicine for 40 standard years. I have seen hundreds of species, performed thousands of surgeries. I am telling you this patient cannot be saved. Then what do we have to lose by trying? Sarah shot back. She moved to the patient's side, pulling up the holographic display of his vital signs. They were deteriorating rapidly, just as everyone predicted. But Sarah saw something else, something the others had missed. Look at the secondary neural pathway, she said, highlighting the damaged area. Everyone is saying it's severed, but it's not completely destroyed. There's still a thread of connection, right here. If we can stabilize the primary core and reroute energy through this remaining connection, we might be able to keep the tertiary pathway from degrading. Impossible, Zelvoth said flatly. The energy requirements would be massive. The primary core is fractured. It cannot generate sufficient power. Not on its own, Sarah agreed. But what if we supplement it? The station's medical bay has bioelectric generators designed for emergency cardiac support. If we modify the frequency to match Crossian crystalline resonance, we could provide external power while his body heals. Resistance and determination. Myra's spines flattened against her skull, a sign of deep concern. That has never been attempted. The risk of cascade failure is enormous. If the frequency is even slightly wrong, we could shatter his entire core structure. It would be a painful, horrible death. He's dying anyway, Sarah said, her voice steady despite the pounding of her heart. In 40 minutes, maybe less, Ambassador Corthax will be gone. We can sit here and watch it happen, or we can try something radical. Something that might actually work. The medical team exchanged glances. Sarah could read their body language clearly enough. They thought she was crazy, reckless, driven by human arrogance to attempt the impossible. Tau Rex stepped forward, his compound eyes fixing on Sarah with unnerving intensity. If this fails, if you cause unnecessary suffering to a dying ambassador, it will end your career. The diplomatic consequences alone could damage human galactic relations for decades. Are you truly willing to accept that responsibility? Sarah looked down at Ambassador Corthax. His breathing was growing shallower. His luminescent blood had dimmed to a faint glow. She thought about why she had become a doctor, why she had fought so hard to join the galactic medical community despite the prejudice, despite the doubt. It wasn't to play it safe. It wasn't to accept defeat before even trying. The decision. I'm willing, Sarah said. But I need help. Dr. Zelvoth, I need you to calculate the exact resonance frequency. Tau Rex, your surgical precision is better than mine. I need you to repair the physical damage to the primary core. Mira, I need you to monitor the patient's emotional and pain responses. And Zek, I need all 4 of your hands managing the power flow. She looked around the bay at the gathered team. I know you don't trust human medicine. I know you think we're too new, too inexperienced, too reckless. And maybe you're right. But I also know that every species in this room comes from a world where giving up means death. We all survived because our ancestors refused to quit, even when the odds were impossible. Sarah's voice grew stronger. I'm asking you to trust me. Not because I'm human, but because I've done the work. I've studied. I've prepared. And I genuinely believe we can save this patient's life. But I can't do it alone. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Then Zelvoth's crystalline form brightened slightly, a sign of determination. Very well, Dr. Chen, he said. Let us attempt the impossible. But we do it my way, with proper protocols and safety measures. If at any point I believe we are causing undue harm, we stop immediately. Agreed? Agreed, Sarah said, relief flooding through her. Then let us begin, Zelvoth announced to the team. We have 37 minutes to save an ambassador's life. Dr. Chen, brief us on your procedure while we prep. As the medical bay erupted into controlled chaos, Sarah felt the weight of countless eyes upon her. She was about to either prove that humans belonged among the galactic medical community, or confirm every doubt they had ever held. There was no middle ground anymore. Only success or failure. Life or death. And Dr. Sarah Chen had never been very good at accepting failure. The procedure begins. The medical bay had transformed into a symphony of controlled urgency. Taurex positioned himself at the primary surgical station, his multiple arms already wielding instruments that Sarah couldn't name. Zek stood by the bioelectric generators, his massive frame dwarfing the machinery as he made microscopic adjustments to the power output. Mira had connected herself to the patient's emotional monitoring system, her empathic abilities allowing her to sense pain and distress that no machine could measure. Dr. Zelvoth worked at the calculation terminal, his crystalline fingers dancing across the holographic interface with impossible speed. The resonance frequency must be precise to within 0.0003 Hz, he said, his voice tight with concentration. I am running the calculations now, but Dr. Chen, you must understand the margin for error is essentially zero. I understand, Sarah replied, her hand steady as she prepared the connection ports that would bridge the generators to Ambassador Corthex's primary core. How much time do we have? 29 minutes, Mira said softly, her voice trembling. His pain levels are increasing. The tertiary neural pathway is degrading faster now. I can feel his consciousness fading. Racing against time. Sarah forced herself to breathe slowly, to ignore the countdown ticking in her mind. She had trained for high-pressure situations, but nothing in medical school on Earth had prepared her for this. The responsibility of an alien ambassador's life, the potential diplomatic catastrophe if she failed, the knowledge that her entire species might be judged by her actions in the next half hour. Frequency calculated, Zelvoth announced. 432.7819 Hz, modulated with a crystalline harmonic at the third octave. Dr. Chen, I must warn you again. If this frequency is wrong, even by the smallest fraction, we will cause a cascade resonance that will destroy every crystalline structure in his body. It will be excruciating. Then we make sure it's right, Sarah said, downloading the frequency data to the generators. Her fingers flew across the controls, making adjustments, triple-checking every setting. Zek, are you ready? The Grozan rumbled an affirmative, his four hands positioned on different control interfaces. Power flow is stable. I will monitor for any fluctuations and compensate immediately. But Dr. Chen, you should know that I have never seen anyone attempt what you are suggesting. Not in 40 years of emergency medicine. That makes all of us, Sarah said, allowing herself a brief smile. Taurex, what's the status of the primary core repair? The critical repair. The insectoid surgeon didn't look up from his work. The fracture is more complex than the scans suggested. There are 17 separate crack lines, each requiring individual sealing. I can complete the repair in approximately 20 minutes, but that assumes no complications. And Dr. Chen, with Crothian crystalline structures, there are always complications. What kind of complications? The crystal matrix wants to shatter completely. It is like trying to hold together glass that has already decided to break. Each seal I complete puts stress on the surrounding material, potentially causing new fractures. It is, as you humans might say, a losing game. Sarah moved to observe Taurex's work, and her breath caught. Through the magnified view, she could see the ambassador's primary core, a beautiful structure that resembled a geode filled with luminous purple crystals. But the cracks running through it were devastating, each one a pathway for the life force to leak away. What if we stabilize it before you seal it? Sarah asked suddenly. If we start the external power flow now, give the core structural support from the energy itself, would that reduce the stress? A dangerous gamble. The entire medical team froze. Zelvoth's crystalline form flickered with what Sarah had learned to recognize as shock. That would require powering a damaged system. The risk of cascade failure increases exponentially. But it might also prevent total collapse, Sarah argued. Look at the tertiary pathway. We're down to minutes before it fails completely. If that happens, even a perfect repair won't matter. The ambassador's consciousness will be gone. We need to act now. Myra's voice cut through the tension. She's right. I can feel him slipping away. Whatever we do, we must do it immediately. Talrex's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of intense calculation. If we proceed with Dr. Chen's suggestion, I estimate our survival probability increases from 12% to perhaps 38%. But our failure probability becomes more catastrophic. We could turn a peaceful death into agony. The human perspective. Sarah met the surgeon's compound eyes. In human medicine, we have a saying, first, do no harm. But we also have another principle that's just as important, never give up on a patient who's still fighting. I can see Ambassador Corthex's vital signs. His body is fighting with everything it has. Who are we to decide that fighting is hopeless? Humans, Zelvoth said, and there was something new in his voice. Not quite respect, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. Your species has only been in space for a few generations, yet you speak of never giving up as if it were a universal law. Do you not understand that sometimes acceptance of death is the merciful choice? Maybe, Sarah admitted. But this isn't that time. I can feel it. This patient can be saved. Call it human intuition, call it recklessness, call it whatever you want. But I'm asking you all to trust that feeling. One more time. Please. The leap of faith. The medical team exchanged glances that Sarah couldn't fully interpret. Then, slowly, Zelvoth nodded. Very well, Dr. Chen. We will follow your lead. But I want it noted in the official record that I advised against this course of action. Noted, Sarah said, her hands already moving to the power controls. Zek, prepare to initiate power flow on my mark. Start at 30% capacity and increase gradually. Talrex, begin your repairs the moment the core stabilizes. Mira, if you sense any increase in pain beyond normal surgical levels, alert us immediately. Understood, they chorused. Sarah took one more deep breath, then activated the connection. Initiating power flow in 3, 2, 1, mark. The miracle begins. The bioelectric generators hum to life, their energy flowing through the modified connections into Ambassador Corthex's damaged primary core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the luminescence that had been fading suddenly brightened, pulsing with renewed vigor. Core structure stabilizing, Zelvoth reported, his voice filled with disbelief. Stress fractures are being held in suspension by the external energy matrix. Dr. Chen, it's working. By the ancient stars, it's actually working. Talrex moved with renewed purpose, his surgical instruments sealing the crack lines with liquid crystal compounds that would integrate with the ambassador's natural structure. Fracture 1 sealed. 2 sealed. 3 sealed. The external power is holding the matrix together perfectly. I have never seen anything like this. Sarah watched the vital signs monitor, her heart pounding. The tertiary neural pathway had stopped degrading. The secondary pathway, the one with the thread of remaining connection, was actually regenerating, new crystal growth visible in the magnified display. Increasing power to 50%, Zek announced. All systems stable. No fluctuations detected. Myra's spines were standing straight up, a sign of intense emotion. His consciousness is returning. I can feel him becoming aware. The pain is significant, but manageable. He's fighting. He wants to live. The turning point. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Sarah monitored every readout, every flicker of change, ready to shut down the procedure at the first sign of danger. But the danger never came. Instead, something remarkable happened. Ambassador Corthex's body began to heal itself, the external power giving it the energy it needed to activate regeneration protocols that evolution had built into Crossian biology millions of years ago. The fractures sealed. The neural pathways reconnected. The crystalline blood flow stabilized. Final fracture sealed, Taurex announced, stepping back from the surgical field. Primary core repair is complete. Dr. Chen, I believe we can begin reducing external power. Decreasing to 40%, Sarah said, watching the monitors intently. The ambassador's core continued to pulse strongly, maintaining its own power now. 30%. 20%. Core power is self-sustaining, Zelvoth said, his voice filled with wonder. We can disconnect the external generators entirely. Dr. Chen, you did it. You actually did it. The aftermath. Sarah carefully disconnected the power feeds, her hands shaking now that the adrenaline was wearing off. Ambassador Corthex's vital signs were stable, strong even. His breathing had normalized, the harsh rattling replaced by a steady, deep rhythm. The luminescence of his crystalline blood had returned to its full glory, painting the medical bay in dancing purple light. How long until he wakes? Sarah asked. With Crossien's, consciousness returns gradually, Mira said, her emotional sensitivity picking up the subtle changes. But I can already sense awareness. He knows what happened. He knows we saved him. The medical bay doors hissed open, and a group of officials rushed in. A human administrator, a Crossien diplomat, and several other dignitaries that Sarah didn't recognize. They stopped short at the sight of the ambassador, alive and healing on the medbed. How is this possible? The Crossien diplomat breathed, his voice reverberating with shock. We were told Ambassador Corthex was beyond saving. The specialists said there was no hope. Recognition and respect. Dr. Zelvoth stepped forward, his crystalline form bright with pride. It is possible because Dr. Sarah Chen refused to accept that diagnosis. She developed an unprecedented procedure, convinced this team to attempt the impossible, and saved the ambassador's life through skill, knowledge, and human determination. The diplomat turned to Sarah, his massive form towering over her. For a moment, she thought he might be angry, might accuse her of recklessness or endangering the ambassador. Instead, he bowed deeply, a gesture of profound respect in Crossien culture. Dr. Chen, you have saved not just an ambassador, but a personal friend. My people will remember this. The Crossien Empire will remember this. And I believe the entire galaxy should know what happened here today. Taurex clicked his mandibles in what Sarah had learned to recognize as approval. I must admit, Dr. Chen, when you first proposed this procedure, I thought it was human arrogance. Now I see it was something else entirely. Courage. Innovation. And a refusal to accept defeat that perhaps the rest of us have forgotten. The lesson learned. As the officials made arrangements to transport Ambassador Corthex to recovery, Sarah finally allowed herself to sit down. Her legs felt weak, her hands still trembling from the adrenaline crash. Mira settled beside her, the Venturi nurse's empathic presence a calming influence. You know what you did today? Mira said softly. You didn't just save a life. You changed minds. Every person in this bay came in believing humans were too inexperienced, too new, too reckless for truly advanced medicine. You proved that sometimes being new means seeing solutions that old wisdom has overlooked. Dr. Zelvoth approached, his usual stern demeanor softened. Dr. Chen, I owe you an apology. I doubted you, not because of your skills, but because of my prejudices about your species. That was wrong. Today, you have taught me that sometimes the most valuable quality in medicine is not experience, but the refusal to give up. That, perhaps, is humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. We're stubborn, Sarah said with a tired smile. Our ancestors survived ice ages, plagues, disasters that should have wiped us out. They did it by refusing to quit, by believing that impossible just means nobody's figured it out yet. Then may that stubbornness spread, Zelvoth said. The galaxy needs more doctors who refuse to accept defeat. It needs more humans who believe impossible is just a challenge waiting to be overcome. The future changes. News of the procedure spread quickly through the medical station, then throughout the sector, and eventually across the entire galactic network. The human doctor who saved a Crossian ambassador using an impossible technique became a sensation. Medical schools requested detailed reports. Research facilities wanted to study her methods. And perhaps most importantly, the quiet skepticism that had followed human medical professionals began to fade. 3 days later, Sarah was called to Ambassador Corthex's recovery room. He was sitting up, his purple crystalline body fully healed, his 3 neural systems functioning perfectly. When she entered, he spoke in the deep, resonant voice of his species, the translation matrix converting his words into English. "Dr. Chen, I understand I owe you my life. My people do not forget such debts. But more than that, I wanted to thank you for something else. You fought for me when others would have let me pass peacefully. You believed I was worth saving, even when it seemed impossible. That is a gift beyond measure." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "You were worth it, Ambassador. Every patient is worth it. That's what being a doctor means." "Then humanity has given the galaxy a great gift," Corthex said. "Not advanced technology, not military might, but a simple belief that every life matters, that impossible is not final, and that determination can overcome even the longest odds. We have much to learn from you." Conclusion. 6 months later, Dr. Sarah Chen was promoted to head of the trauma department at Celestial Medical Station Prometheus. Her team included members from a dozen species, all of whom had learned that sometimes the newest perspective offers the most innovative solutions. The procedure she developed to save Ambassador Corthex became standard protocol, saving countless lives across the galaxy. But for Sarah, the greatest reward was simpler. It was the way other species looked at humans now, not with doubt or condescension, but with respect. It was the knowledge that she had proven something essential about her species, that humans didn't quit, didn't give up, and didn't accept impossible as an answer. And in a galaxy billions of years old, filled with ancient civilizations and established wisdom, sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is refuse to believe that failure is inevitable. Sometimes, the human perspective is exactly what the universe needs.